Ask the Retoucher. This is Eric Basir, and I'm with you today after a 2 week absence. I'm seemingly being a little inconsistent, and I ask your forgiveness on that. Things can get busy and I can get tied up, but I always look forward to getting on the air talking with you about photo retouching. We have many questions that come in from time to time, and one of them, we have someone checking in the chat room. We're live at 8 p.m. Central Time on March 24th on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time in the United States. And I just saw someone check in from Australia, and it's great to have you here. And we got another person who I know quite well in Arizona, and got some questions. So I'd like to deal with them quickly, and we will try to, without, it's hard to do without samples, but I think we can approach it in a way that can be useful for everyone. So the first question is on magazine scans. I find that the contrast is often really flat, even though the darks don't have any detail. Is there a way to find more detail, or is it gone forever? Aha! Yeah, is the detail gone forever? And that's why I say it's good to look at the file. But when you're talking about a scan of another photo, so you're talking, it's not only is it a second generation, but it's almost a third generation, where the original was made with a camera, film or digital, then brought in to a page layout program that was sent to press. All right, so you had your first generation with the original. Now you have your second generation with the press, with the image that was put on press. Then you have your third generation, which you have scanned. Most likely there is no detail. But here's a great way to figure that out. And I need to get on my screen. I do happen to have a magazine scan. I have a couple. So we're going to get something on the screen for you momentarily. And we'll figure out how can we see, do we lose the dark, do we lose the shadow detail? That's specifically what he's dealing with, the dark areas, the shadow areas, the black areas, the dark areas. And I have quite a few scanned pages. Let's see if they show up. Most of these are PDFs, so I'm gonna just pop this on the screen and we'll look together. I often find little interesting images that I like to scan, that I get certain inspiration from for various projects. And it looks like a lot of these don't have previews. So what we'll do is we'll open up something that we call, in the Photoshop world, we call it Adobe Bridge, and that will allow us to examine what is in the contents of this folder. Last time we dealt with, we started restoring a picture that had the we were rebuilding a wall for a restoration project, and I actually finished that project, and interestingly the customer gave us some corrections, and I want to go over that with you tonight. and maybe even get them done. So I have all of our images, and it seems I have permission problems, so I will not be able to necessarily view these. Let's open up this one then. We'll open up this one. Alright. And we got our Photoshop. This is actually a PDF, and I will import it as RGB color, because when it was scanned, scans are done in RGB color. And 300, we'll go like this. Alright. So to speed the things up, we'll just crop real quick. Alright, so this is a magazine scan. This is a scan from a magazine. Okay, the darks, or the shadows, are these areas in here. This is a really bad scan, and I'm sorry, because it's you see that JPEG artifacts going on in there. But I think we can still help you figure out, is the information in the dark areas or the shadows retrievable? The first thing I would do is I go right here to what's called the channels palette. Go to the channels palette and click on individual channels. Red, green, and blue. Now, if you don't see any detail in the red, green, or blue shadows, or I'm sorry, if you don't see detail in the composite channel with the full color, check these individual colors, red, green, blue, and if you're working in CMYK, it would be CMYK, and our LAB, other whatever channels, whatever mode your image is in, and look to see if there's detail that you don't see with the composite channel. So red, green, blue. So that's what I suggest you do. If you see detail in there, well, that's a whole nother show. And there's many ways to retrieve that detail. So I would say that check those channels. Look to see if the detail's there. If the detail's there, then you can do something that is known as plate blending or channel mixing, and it can be retrieved, especially if it is a color or it's a part of the image that can be neutral. And what I mean by that is, as you see, I am not properly dressed for video. I'm wearing a straight black shirt here, but here, if I roll it up even more, just look at my head's floating in the air. Ooh. But if, as you know, if you brighten the exposure, and if your image capture is detailed enough, there will be detail here, shadow area in here, and whatnot to retrieve. And that's where channel mixer and other things come in. Oh, thank you, Firefox. So yeah, that would be another show, but I hope that helps you out and gives you some answer. So look at the channels and see what you can find. And if that doesn't help, there's a couple other things you can do. Once you're in, you're starting from RGB, which is what most scans are. There are scanners that will scan in LAB or CMYK. They are very high-end scanners. Not sure if they make them anymore. Heidelberg was one of the brands. Image mode and what we have, CMYK. All right, it says you want to convert blah blah blah, but just to look, okay, cyan, it's just cloudy in there. Magenta, yellow, no, black. Okay, and so if we can take detail from this and put it into the shadow areas of our RGB, we would do that with something called image, apply image. Again, another show for another time. And there are other ways to do it. I mean, there's retouchers that you got so many techniques to approach this. And finally, you can also try converting to LAB mode, which is based on luminescence, or they call it lightness, and then A and B. And A and B are merely colors, different hues on a. I think LAB is a cylinder color model, if I recall. Um, Boy, it's been a while since I looked at that. But or a cone. I forget which shape it is, but you'll find these A and B, different hues, different colors on whatever axis it is. But look in the lightness channel and see if you can find some detail in there. Of course, it's all there's so many ways to do it and so many ways to approach. But anyways, there you go. All right. Well, I have this interesting set of images we're going to bring up in just a moment. And when we pause like this, it's always a great opportunity for one of these.
What makes a good scan?
What is a selection?
What are layers?
What is resolution?
What is a JPEG?
What is TIFF?
What is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly. So, I did add, this is the first time that I've been doing this show that we've had more than 2 viewers at the same time, and I'm just so elated with this, and we got the ads going on, and we have some little interruptions sometimes. Bear with it. That's the cost of doing business, and that allows me to broadcast to you at no charge. So, please enjoy the little ads and tolerate them, and you will be rewarded for your patience. And I have quite a few interesting comments in the chat room that are extremely distracting at this time, but it is related to what we're talking about. So, whenever you get to join in live on the show, and we have a little ticker symbol if you're watching us through live stream that tells you how to join the email list. Join the email list, mailing list at photografix.pro, and you'll get hooked in. And of course, follow us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We're all over the place. Just go to photografix.pro and you can keep up. I hope. I can barely keep up. Anyways, we have some corrections that I'm just dying to get to, and we'll get them up for you momentarily, just dragging them to their respective folders. So you may recall this one, and we had worked on the siding here, the paneling, and this certainly was interesting to approach. So here's before and after, before and after. So I wanted to go over the corrections, and he sent some comments, and he's talking about the eyes here. So we'll zoom in close to the eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. So you must be careful with them, and you must help them in your restoration. So if you look, what I did, I took the plain, this is pretty much how it looked, with the color cast removed, some cleanup. I thought her eyes were quite dreary looking, as far as not her physical look, but lack of contrast, lack of detail. So I enhanced that a little bit, and I thought that this was enough, and I actually really pushed it. But he said the corners of her eyes need to be lightened a little, and her left eye needs to be lightened a little, and the area under her chin needs to be lightened a little, and there seems to be a line that starts above her left eye, which would be this one, because I did not flip the picture. That's why you gotta be careful flipping things. And there seems to be a line that starts above her left eye and runs down her eye to her nose and down her left cheek. So he's really making sure I get this right. So let's do this. Let's duplicate this layer. So I just drag it to the new page icon in the layer. Oops, I just merged it to the new page icon here. And let's work on that. And so he says he wants the highlighting. So I'm going to call this customer corrections, okay? And that way I know that this is the corrections I made based on what the customer told me. I will go to my handy dandy history brush and make a new snapshot. And we talk about this from time to time. This is quite an advanced technique. And I always work on I use advanced techniques for the show because it's a lot faster for me. And it is helpful for those who are more advanced and would not care for my course. But those who goes over the head, the course is definitely for you. And it will help you get to this stage. So let's work on the corners of her eyes. I would think when he says corners, he's probably meaning in here. So I have my history brush in screen mode, and I want to soften the edge of that brush. It's a little too harsh. Now we'll try. There. 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 And there. There. Alright. Now there is some dust spots, so why not clean those up too? But of course, he may not say anything about that. And if he does, we'll just remove it. No problem. Now, I have to make another new snapshot because I just changed that. And this is basically going to help me remember. It's going to help me be able to go back and forth between different blend modes on my history brush. Now we work on her. I said left eye needs to be lightened a little. Actually, her left hand needs to be lightened a little. So let's zoom down. So her left hand would be this one. Okay? And I think that he means the fingers. But let's just, because there's just absolutely no way that this would be the whole hand. The hand is pretty light, so I think he means the fingers, but if not, he'll tell me. And I'll just go back to the drawing board, and I'm just brightening this up. Nice little easy strokes at 30% opacity, just taking it easy. It does kind of look like she was playing with mud pies, doesn't it? Yeah. Maybe I'm going too far, so zoom out. Yeah, I think that's okay. There's some spotting going on in there, but if you look at the original was a lot smaller. And let's take a look. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, not even 4 inches wide. All right. So I got to be careful of how much spotting I do. But when I do notice this kind of thing, I like to fix it. Let's just stick with the corrections, though. It is tempting. But let's just work. Now he says there seems to be a line that starts above her left eye and runs around her eye towards her nose and down her left cheek. All right, so let's look here. I think he's talking about this right in here. That's what it looks like to me. So, but I could be wrong. So let's grab the handy dandy. We can use this in Photoshop 6 and above. It's called the healing brush. It's kind of like the clone stamp tool. He really didn't tell me to do that, but I think I see what he's talking about. I think it was a line that I got. There was. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's hard to tell. Yeah. Okay, let's see if this is. Let's see if this is what he means. Like that, and he said down the cheek. So let's help that cheek. Let's go with this. I see something weird going on here, something weird here, and okay, relax, Eric. And there's a little dot here by the nose. I like to get these things. Yeah, that's better. And something here. Okay, and there's some separation problems in here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a new snapshot. And, you see the shoulder blend in to the wall. It's just not pretty. So what we do is we could do the burn and dodge tool, by the way, is in Elements, and it pretty much has the same functions. So I'll actually be burning with multiply mode back here. Alright. Like so. Then I'll go into screen mode, or you would go dodge highlights with the dodge tool. Alright. And when it's printed, it will look really nice. Now looking up close, it's like, oh geez, yeah, that looks fake. But when you zoom out, look at how it separates. Alright. Okay, so that's what he said for this one. So, I need to save this one. Alright. And I will actually merge these layers down, because this is my new revision. And that's, that's up to you. That's a workflow issue. And that's not necessarily advanced or beginner technique. Workflow is workflow. It's how you like to work. But I do give guidelines, especially in my course. And I give you a really nice workflow to start with. And then from there you build on to your own. So, let's go to the next one. And I'm going to pop that up here for you. And this one is number 2 that I worked on. These are exceptional. So here we go: before, after, before, after. So he just needs me to do a few more changes. The tip of her nose needs to be lightened a little. Alright, so let's do this. Let's go customer correction. Alright, and we make a new snapshot just to be safe. And we'll save it with a different... Oh my, I was actually working in the wrong one there. So let me close that. I already had an R2. Second guess myself. Okay, so we'll call this correction customer. So if you do a business, if you're in business, that's a good way to do it. Make a new snapshot. Or if you got burn and dodge tool, you don't even have to mess with that. So the tip of her nose needs to be lightened a little. All right, no problem. So I'll go either dodge highlights, or I will go to multiply brush screen mode. I would say if either way, try 15%. Yeah, and that's too much. One reason why is because we have this adjustment layer on top, but it's alright, that's how it works. Let's try 10%. Alright. Before, after. Yes, it would look kind of flat. It looked kind of flat, the nose. Looked kind of like it just popped out of her face. This one looks like it comes down the bridge, like she has a bridge up here. So, yeah, I like that better too. Just nice little strokes at 10%. Kind of nice if you have a pressure sensitive stylus. And while we're at it, let's see, does he say anything about her chin? Not yet. The tip of her nose to lighten. Her left eyebrow needs to be darkened a little. Ah! You know, I like it when I got customers like this because they really make me see my flaws. So 20%. Let's try that and help her out. Yes, ma'am. Let me help you with your eyeliner. Before, after. Sweet. Just a little. This is a 10%. Okay. So if you want to darken it with the burn tool, you'll burn the shadows at about 10%. Okay. And there's a light spot on her right cheek that needs to be blended into the rest of her cheek. So if he's saying her right cheek, that would be over here. Yeah, I did lighten that up. I think I did that in the first revision. So apparently the customer does not like that. So I want to get rid of it. Okay. So I got the healing brush and I sourced the forehead. And then I went down here and scribbled in the circle before, after. I think that's it. I think that's what he was talking about. So her eyes are, you know, okay. This is an okay picture, you know, it's okay. You know, the big thing is, how much do you want to change, you know? How much of the original do you want to change? I don't like to change a lot of the original. And, yeah, there we go. So next, let's go to number 3. Let's go to number 3. This one's pretty cool. Okay, so we have before, after. Before, after. Now, let's see what the customer says about this. The tip of her nose needs to be lightened a little. Yeah. So he said the tip of the nose. Maybe not the bridge of the nose. So let's do this. And I'm going to say customer correction. I'll just abbreviate that for time's sake because we are running a little short. And get my history brush, or I would do what we call a dodge tool. And if you had Elements or an older version of Photoshop, and we have the tip of the nose. All right, so let's do this. All right, so it's way too light up there. So I go back. Nice thing about history brushes, you can actually go back. Burn and dodge tool, you got to be a little more conservative. You know, and you might have to undo. So go at 100% opacity. And make a nice big brush with a very soft edge. and I'll go dab it. Alright. See, before, after. I like that, yeah. Makes me want to work on their eyelids a little bit more, but I think they're okay. Now, I want you to understand that there's things like the folds in here. I mean, this is, I believe, turn of the century fashion. It's tempting to move those, even, some facial hair on the ladies. These are things that are genuine, and I cannot emphasize the importance of responsible behavior with Photoshop. And what I mean by that is we must resist the temptation to change history, no matter how unpleasant it may seem. And I always bring up the story of the restoration that I saw done by another person. And of course, if the customer asks me to do it, generally I do it, but I ask them, I say, well, how about I give you a version that isn't altered like this? But this story was, they had a picture of a relative that was on a German ship, a Nazi German ship during World War II, and they wanted the swastika removed, and I said, wow, that's something. I didn't work on it. I don't know the customer, but I know it's an ugly part of the history of in that family, but maybe they were using it for some other purpose, so they got rid of it. But try not to change history. What was is what was, and we are here now, hopefully much better than those that came before us. So enough of the lecture for tonight. Back to the picture. And all right, so the corners of her eyes can be lightened a little. So I'll make a new 2. So the corners of her eyes, I'm presuming he's saying here, yeah, maybe doing a little too much. So it's a before, after, maybe he's, we'll see. You never know. You do what you think they want, and then you let them see what they have to say. And you say, oh, okay, I get it. And eventually you'll get it right. And he's asking, can the background be darkened a little to show her hair better? Now, it is I'm of the opinion that the background was completely white. He wants to show the hair better. So what I did is earlier I made what's called the path, and we're gonna have to get into that in another class. Who knows? Maybe I'll do an advanced course one day. So let's do that. Let's make a darker background. So I make a new layer. We call it darker background, and I'll call it customer. Yeah. We'll hit OK. And I will take my paintbrush tool over here. Get a nice big brush with very, very soft edge. I'll sample kind of one of these lighter tones here, maybe up here, and go like that. In fact, I should do this. And let's just go over the whole thing. Okay. And that's it. The picture's done. Isn't it great? Gotcha. We're just beginning. All right, so let's do this. Let's load this little mask I made earlier, or this one, and we'll hit what's called the layer mask button right here. Oops. Right here. And the problem with this, though, that I don't like about it is it wasn't a very good mask. But let's go up here. I'll load this path, and we'll feather the path. Soften the edge of the selection. Sorry, we will load a selection from the path, and we will modify or feather and feather by 1 pixel here. I will hide my marching ants with a simple command or control H. Now I have my paintbrush tool, and I can start painting away this. So let's try it. This kind of bleed over here. Alright. You know, in some ways a customer is an art director. You know, a visionary. So you try to manifest their vision when you're working on their pictures, because you don't have their brain, but you certainly can tap into it through their detailed corrections. So let's see what he says about this. I kind of like this. I mean, going from here to here, and then actually look at that back. There was something in there. So let's try to put that. Ooh, I'm glad he said that. So actually, let's do this. Load the path. To protect her, we'll invert it. We'll load a selection from that. We'll invert it. We'll go back to feather. 1 pixel. And we got our big brush. Big soft edge brush. Let's hide this the ants. And let's go 70% opacity with this paintbrush tool. Yeah. Ooh, that's ugly. Okay. I'll get rid of that selection. I'll deselect it. Now let's do it. See, I think I'll have... Yeah, that's better. Right. Yeah, that's sweet. Just a little bit. See, you can see it come right around. It's very subtle. Very subtle. Very subtle. So, see that? Wow. I think that's closer to the original. Yeah. I like that. Do you like that? See if there's any comments that come in through the chat room. We have a short delay. So, I like it. So, I'll save it. Alright. And we got the background, we got the hair, all that other good stuff. Let's go to the final picture here. I had one more correction I wanted to do for you, but I think we're just running out of time.
What is resolution?
What is a JPEG?
What is TIFF?
What is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly. Alright, so the fourth and final one is now before us. And I will look at the comments. Her chin and right side of her mouth need to be lightened a little. Well, there you go. So let's start our customer correction. And we will make a new snapshot. And history brush. And he says he wants it lightened. So it'll be screen. Or if you're not using history brush, dodge highlights. That's a little too extreme. Let's try 10%. Make a little more control. Yeah, that's better. No, too much. Alright, let's see. Before, after. Alright. And when they say a little, I take it seriously. Now we'll do the eyebrows, because he says, I don't like those eyebrows. They're too light. Okay. So let's get a smaller brush. And we're just painting in. Let's see. We'll see. I think that might be too dark. Let's see what he says. Tip of her nose needs to be lightened a little. You know, when I first saw his corrections, I thought he was just copying and pasting them, but they are specific for each image. So let's just do this and go to normal to get some of this back. Yeah. Let's see. Almost too much, especially down here. You go 50% opacity, dab it. You got to go back and forth. The idea is going back and forth, until it looks right to you. He says, can the glossy look in her eyes be made less glassy? Glossy? Her left ear needs to be darkened a little. Alright, so I made a nice little path around there. So let's get our soften the edge of that. And hide. He wants the... I think that's a little too dark. What did I do? Try it here. Man, it's way too dark. It's because that adjustment layers will do that for you. If you got a lot of adjustment layers, try 5%. Still too much. I'm gonna try 2%. Yeah. Alright. Alright. And the glossy look, I don't know. It's interesting. I would say let's you know, it's like fatter highlights or fatter specular highlights in it, so it looks kind of glossy, like he said. So maybe let's make I know. Let's bring a curve in. Now this is another advanced technique. I really don't recommend curves for beginners. Let's bring this, flatten it out. We'll make a snapshot called C, letter C. Make that our source. We'll grab the history brush. Make the blend mode normal and opacity 50%. So reduce that. Oop, too much. So let's go 25 for over here since this side of the face is brighter. And here. So I think that's what he means. You know, give it a little stronger shadow on the opposite side of the iris here. Yeah, I think that's better. So, you know, there we have it. Alright. So, I'm going to save this one. And that'll be about it. Well, you all have been very brave to tolerate this show. And I really, really appreciate those of you who joined in. And I appreciate your comments. And of course, if you're watching the reruns, the chat room is not a good place to communicate. But I guess I'll get to it eventually. But the best way is when you're looking around, there's always some kind of way to contact me. Send your question. And if you have a question about a specific photo or a specific image, include it, attach it, especially if it's email, attach it, and we'll talk about it. I mean, we'll bring it right on the show. And I think you'll like it, and I'll like it, and everybody else will like it. I think that we have just about used up all of our time, and I'm so grateful for you to be here with me. And I thank you for being patient with our sponsor. Again, Livestream runs this at no charge, so I'm not going to put them down. Take care of yourselves. Join the mailing list at photografix.pro. Go to the website, photografix.pro, and every page on the site has a follow us on Facebook button. Click on the button, and we have a great blog with edited versions of the video, and with edited versions with the often step by step, or at least the outline of what I'm talking about. So you can even try it at home. Spread the word. We got a little share button on the window there. There's a little Twitter button, a Facebook button. Share it. Spread the word. You can't sit on this great knowledge and wisdom and not share it. So share it. Tell all your friends and tell them to come on over. Take care of yourselves. God bless, and be safe and enjoy life, because it's here and then it's gone, just like me.